The soul that chooses to take another's life initiates a profound spiritual debt that extends far beyond our earthly understanding of crime and punishment. In the cosmic ledger of existence, the act of murder creates the heaviest karmic burden a soul can bear, one that cannot be escaped through physical death, but must be reconciled through spiritual evolution across multiple lifetimes. When we speak of karma in relation to those who kill, we are not merely discussing a simple cause and effect relationship. Rather, we are acknowledging the complex web of energetic imbalance created when one soul violently severs another's earthly journey. This imbalance manifests as a spiritual weight that the murderer's soul must carry, a burden that grows heavier with each life taken, with each moment of suffering inflicted. The ancient wisdom traditions across civilizations have consistently recognized this principle. In the Vedic understanding, this action creates what is known as prarabdha karma, the most potent form of karma that must be experienced and cannot be avoided. The Buddhist traditions speak of it as creating particularly dense karmic seeds that will inevitably flower into painful experiences. Even in Western esoteric traditions, the principle remains: as ye sow, so shall ye reap, but magnified exponentially when what is sown is the premature ending of another's life. This karmic debt creates a spiritual gravity that pulls the soul into cycles of suffering. The murderer's soul becomes entangled in what might be described as a spiritual debt bondage, one that cannot be escaped through denial or further violence, but only through the painful process of facing the consequences of one's actions across multiple incarnations. The soul becomes weighted down, unable to ascend to higher vibrational realms until this burden is addressed and transmuted. What many fail to realize is that this karmic weight affects not just future incarnations, but begins its work immediately upon the commission of the act. The murderer's energetic field becomes instantly contaminated with the dense vibrations of violence and death. Their aura, the subtle energy field surrounding the physical body, becomes darkened and contracted, creating a spiritual prison long before any earthly judgment is rendered. The internal landscape of the killer begins to reflect the chaos they have created externally. Those with spiritual sight often report seeing the auras of those who have killed as containing dark, swirling patterns that reflect their inner turmoil. The natural light of the soul becomes dimmed, obscured by these heavy energetic patterns that act as barriers to higher consciousness. The murderer's connection to divine guidance becomes muffled, making spiritual growth increasingly difficult with each life taken. This karmic weight manifests in the material realm as well. Many who have killed report experiencing crushing feelings of heaviness, persistent nightmares, and a pervasive sense of being watched or followed by those they have harmed. These are not merely psychological phenomena, but manifestations of the spiritual reality, the soul's recognition of its own debt, even when the conscious mind may deny it. The weight of karma for a killer is not primarily punitive, though it may appear so from our limited human perspective. Rather, it is ultimately corrective, designed by the higher wisdom of universal law to create the circumstances necessary for the soul's eventual awakening. This weight creates resistance that the soul must overcome through conscious spiritual effort, much as physical weight creates resistance that builds strength in the body. The karmic burden of murder is not static, but dynamic. It compounds with time if unaddressed. Each moment of denial, each refusal to acknowledge responsibility, each attempt to justify the unjustifiable adds to this weight. Conversely, genuine remorse, acceptance of responsibility, and dedicated efforts toward making amends, even knowing such amends can never be complete, begin the process of lightening this burden. What makes this karmic weight particularly challenging is that it cannot be escaped through physical death. In fact, the moment of transition often brings the first shocking confrontation with the full spiritual consequences of one's actions. Without the buffer of the physical body and brain, the soul directly experiences the pain it has caused others. This is not punishment from an external deity, but the natural result of expanded consciousness that comes with leaving the physical form. How long must this karmic debt be carried? There is no universal timetable, for the journey of reconciliation depends on many factors: the circumstances of the killing, the consciousness level of the soul at the time of the act, the degree of premeditation involved, and most importantly, the soul's willingness to undertake the difficult work of spiritual atonement once awakened to the need for it. Does this mean there is no hope for the soul of a killer? Absolutely not. Even the heaviest karmic burden can be transformed through the alchemy of spiritual awakening, genuine remorse, and dedicated service to life. The journey may be long and arduous, spanning many lifetimes, but the universal laws are ultimately designed for healing, not eternal punishment. The journey of a soul that has taken life does not end with the weight of karmic debt. It continues through the inevitable process of reincarnation. For the murderer's soul, these subsequent incarnations are not random, but precisely calibrated by universal law to provide the necessary lessons for spiritual evolution, often through experiences of profound limitation and suffering. When a soul that has killed returns to physical form, it does so under the influence of what spiritual teachers have called compensatory karma. This principle ensures that the soul experiences circumstances that directly reflect the suffering it has caused. This is not punishment in the conventional sense, but rather a cosmic rebalancing, an opportunity for the soul to develop empathy, compassion, and understanding through direct experience. The murderer's soul often reincarnates into lives marked by significant physical limitations. Those who have used physical strength to harm others may return in bodies that are weak, disabled, or chronically ill. This creates a profound learning opportunity to experience firsthand the vulnerability they once exploited in others. Through these experiences, the soul gradually develops respect for the sanctity of physical life and the bodies that house consciousness. In many instances, souls that have killed find themselves born into environments where violence is prevalent. They may become victims of the very types of violence they once inflicted. A soul that once took life through stabbing might experience being wounded similarly. One who used firearms might face similar weapons in their new incarnation. This mirroring is not cruel coincidence, but the precise working of spiritual law that teaches through direct experience. These painful incarnations often include significant relationship challenges as well. The murderer's soul frequently experiences profound isolation, rejection, or betrayal, reflecting the connections they severed through their actions. They may find themselves abandoned by those they love most deeply, or unable to form lasting bonds of trust. These relationship patterns persist until the soul fully comprehends the sacred nature of human connection that they once violated. Particularly instructive are situations where the murderer's soul reincarnates into the family of their former victim. This creates an opportunity for direct reconciliation, as they may become the child, sibling, or dependent of the soul they once harmed. In such cases, the former murderer often feels an inexplicable sense of debt or obligation toward this family member, even without conscious knowledge of their shared past. The dynamics that unfold provide a pathway for healing both souls. Another common pattern in these reincarnational experiences involves role reversal, where the killer's soul experiences being at the mercy of others who possess the same qualities they once exhibited. A soul that killed out of greed might experience extreme poverty and dependence on others' charity. One who killed from a position of authority might return to experience severe oppression under authoritarian control. Through these inversions, the soul gains perspective that would be impossible to achieve otherwise. The timing of these painful reincarnations varies according to spiritual necessity. Some souls require immediate rebirth to prevent the hardening of negative patterns, while others may spend considerable time in intermediary realms before reincarnating. This timing is not arbitrary, but precisely aligned with the soul's readiness to receive and integrate the necessary lessons. For some, the weight of their actions is so great that they cannot immediately bear the full karmic consequences and must receive them in measured portions across multiple lifetimes. It is crucial to understand that these difficult incarnations are not without purpose or hope. Each painful experience carries within it the seed of potential awakening. The suffering experienced is not meaningless punishment, but the necessary catalyst for the soul's evolution. Each limitation becomes an opportunity to develop virtues that were lacking: patience where there was impulsivity, compassion where there was cruelty, humility where there was arrogance. Throughout these challenging incarnations, the soul is never abandoned by higher spiritual forces. Guides and teachers from higher dimensions maintain vigilant attention to the struggling soul, offering inspiration and support at critical moments. These interventions often come in the form of seemingly chance encounters with spiritually awakened individuals who model different possibilities, or through moments of insight that pierce through the veil of suffering to reveal its deeper purpose. The reincarnational experiences of a murderer's soul also frequently include significant periods of illness or near-death experiences. These create liminal states where the soul can more easily access the memories of past actions and their consequences. Many who have taken lives report experiencing profound health crises that triggered spiritual awakening and the first genuine feelings of remorse. These are not random occurrences, but precisely timed opportunities for recognition and transformation. Even in the midst of these difficult incarnations, the universal law provides moments of grace, experiences of beauty, connection, or transcendence that remind the soul of its true nature beyond its actions. These glimpses of higher reality serve as beacons, showing the way forward through the darkness of karmic consequences. They remind the soul that even the heaviest karma is temporary, a teaching tool rather than an eternal sentence. For those who resist these lessons, who continue to respond to suffering with bitterness, resentment, or further violence, the cycle of painful incarnations continues. But for those who begin to understand, who develop genuine remorse and seek to make amends, these difficult lives become the crucible of transformation. Through the alchemical process of suffering consciously accepted, the lead of violence is gradually transmuted into the gold of compassion. The ultimate purpose of these painful reincarnations is not punishment, but restoration. The restoration of the soul to its original state of harmony with universal law. Each difficult experience serves to dissolve the egoic patterns that made violence possible, gradually revealing the soul's innate capacity for love, service, and reverence for all life. What appears as suffering from the limited human perspective is revealed, from the soul's perspective, as the necessary medicine for its ultimate healing. When the physical body dies, most souls transition naturally to their appropriate spiritual planes, guided by their vibrational frequency and karmic patterns. However, for the soul of one who has committed murder, this transition is often dramatically different. Many such souls find themselves caught in what mystics and spiritual teachers describe as a limbo state, a realm between worlds where they remain tethered by the weight of their actions, unable to progress until certain spiritual processes have unfolded. This state of spiritual imprisonment is not imposed by any external authority, but is the natural consequence of the soul's own energetic condition. The act of murder creates such profound energetic distortion in the soul's field that it cannot resonate with higher vibrational realms, yet its awareness has expanded beyond physical limitations. The result is a form of spiritual suspension, neither fully in the material world nor able to access the higher dimensions of light. In this between-world state, the murderer's soul experiences a particular form of consciousness, often described as awake but unable to move forward. Unlike the peaceful transition experienced by souls who have lived in greater harmony with universal law, these souls remain acutely aware of their separation from both earthly existence and spiritual progression. This creates a profound spiritual isolation that mirrors the isolation they created through their act of severing another's connection to physical life. What makes this imprisonment especially challenging is that the soul retains full awareness of its actions and their consequences, yet lacks the physical body's protective mechanisms that normally buffer such realizations. In physical life, denial, rationalization, and the limited perception of the ego create a shield against fully experiencing the impact of one's actions. In the between-world state, these shields are stripped away, leaving the soul naked before the truth of what it has done. The environment of this limbo state reflects the soul's inner condition. Those with spiritual sight who have glimpsed these realms describe landscapes of grey mist, barren terrain, or endless empty corridors, symbolic manifestations of the soul's inner desolation. Some traditions speak of these souls wandering in darkness, not because light does not exist, but because their vibration cannot yet perceive or integrate it. Perhaps most significant is the persistent presence of those who were killed. In this between-world state, the murderer's soul often encounters the energetic imprint or actual presence of their victims. Unable to escape this confrontation, they must face directly those whose lives they terminated. This is not arranged as punishment, but serves as the necessary catalyst for the first stages of understanding and eventual reconciliation. Time functions differently in this limbo realm. What might seem like centuries from the soul's perspective may be only moments in earthly time, or vice versa. This distortion of temporal experience intensifies the feeling of imprisonment, creating what some traditions describe as the long night of the soul, a period of seemingly endless reflection and confrontation with one's actions. During this imprisonment, the soul repeatedly experiences the full emotional and spiritual impact of its actions through a process that transcends intellectual understanding. The murderer's soul directly experiences the pain, fear, and trauma of the victim, not as an intellectual exercise, but as a lived reality. It feels the ripple effects of grief moving through the victim's family and community. It witnesses the many potential paths that were severed when it took life. This is not punishment, but education in its most profound form. The soul in this state also encounters what many traditions call the judges, not external entities passing sentence, but aspects of the soul's own higher consciousness that hold the clear template of universal law. Before this inner tribunal, no deception is possible. The soul stands in perfect transparency before its own divine nature, experiencing the full measure of divergence between its actions and its true essence. Many souls in this between-world state experience what might be described as gravitational pulls toward lower astral realms, where similar energies congregate. These are the dark or dense spiritual dimensions, where souls of similar vibration naturally gather. The soul must exercise spiritual will to resist these pulls, which often appear as seductive opportunities to escape facing one's actions through further distraction or denial. What determines the duration of this imprisonment? Several factors are significant. The degree of premeditation in the murder creates deeper patterns of imprisonment than impulsive acts. Killings motivated by hatred or pleasure create more profound entrapment than those committed from fear or desperation. Most importantly, the soul's response to this state of confrontation determines its duration. Those who continue to justify or deny their actions remain imprisoned longer than those who move toward genuine remorse and understanding. This between-world imprisonment serves several spiritual purposes. First, it prevents the soul from simply escaping the consequences of its actions through death. Second, it creates the necessary conditions for the beginning of spiritual reconciliation between killer and victim. Third, it protects both the collective field of humanity and the soul itself from the damage that would occur if it immediately reincarnated while still carrying the unprocessed energy of violence. Are there guides or helpers for souls in this difficult state? Indeed, specialized spiritual beings, whom some traditions call shepherds of the lost, work specifically with souls imprisoned between worlds. These highly evolved consciousnesses provide compassionate witness and subtle guidance, never forcing awakening, but creating conditions where it becomes possible. They hold the sacred knowledge that even the most violent soul contains within it the divine spark that can never be extinguished. The path out of this imprisonment begins with the soul's first genuine recognition of the full impact of its actions, followed by authentic remorse. This remorse is not self-hatred or despair, but the soul's natural loving response to seeing clearly the suffering it has caused. This first awakening often comes as a moment of profound spiritual crisis, followed by what might be called the surrender of the separate self, the ego structure that made violence possible. As the soul progresses through this state of recognition and remorse, subtle shifts in its energetic field begin to occur. The dense patterns created by violence gradually begin to dissolve, allowing glimmers of higher light to penetrate its awareness. These moments of illumination, though initially painful in their contrast to the soul's condition, provide the first experiences of hope, the recognition that transformation is possible. The final stages of this between-world imprisonment involve the soul's conscious choice to undertake whatever healing work is necessary, both for itself and those it has harmed. This choice marks the transition point where imprisonment begins to transform into purposeful spiritual work. The soul no longer seeks merely to escape its condition, but commits to the path of restoration, however difficult or lengthy it may be. When the soul has reached this state of genuine commitment to healing, the imprisonment between worlds comes to its natural conclusion. The soul then either transitions to higher spiritual realms for further healing and instruction, or more commonly, prepares for the reincarnational experiences necessary for its continued evolution. The imprisonment ends not through escape, but through transformation, the beginning of the soul's long journey of atonement and eventual redemption. Did this exploration of spiritual consequences resonate with you? There's much more wisdom to uncover on the path of spiritual understanding. Subscribe now to continue this journey of enlightenment with us. Each new video explores profound spiritual truths that can transform your understanding of existence. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you experienced karmic lessons in your own life? Do you believe in spiritual consequences? Your perspective enriches our collective wisdom. Remember, awareness is the first step toward transformation. By subscribing, you'll never miss the spiritual insights that could illuminate your path forward. Click subscribe and join our community of seekers today.